Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay, and I am on staff at Magnified Giving, and I am thrilled to be here today with Nick, Robyn, and Michelle. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves and just share a little bit about their organizations and their missions, and also how that relates to the topic of today's conversation, which is arts and culture as a social cause. So, Nick, could you kick us off?
Absolutely. So my name is Nick Wade. I'm the Executive Director of Renaissance Covington. Renaissance Covington embraces local culture, independent businesses, and creativity to amplify the vibrancy of downtown Covington's evolving community. And we do that to socially and economically activate downtown Covington. So we prioritize connectivity as the main focus area of our work, whether that is connectivity of people to spaces, people to technology. We really thrive in kind of that focus area. And our connection to arts and culture is the heart of what we do is creative placemaking. So creating a sense of place, a place where people want to be, want to spend time, and where they want to live.
Awesome. Cool. Robyn?
Yeah, I'm Robyn Winkler. I'm the executive director at Visionaries Voices. We're an inclusive art studio that provides creative, professional, and educational opportunities for artists with disabilities. So we have 2 studio locations in the Cincinnati area, and we really focus on putting art before a person's disability. And we really use art as a way to connect and communicate and engage the community.
Awesome. Thanks, Robyn. And Michelle?
Yeah, so my name is Michelle Harpenow. I'm the executive director with the World Affairs Council. The World Affairs Council's main mission is all about international understanding and cultural awareness. So we focus on 3 main areas. We focus on teaching kids about the world through a global curriculum. We also work directly with the U.S. Department of State's International Visitor Leadership Program. So we bring in to our region about 300 international guests each year to build that important people-to-people diplomacy effort. And finally, we also bring conversations to our community about foreign affairs that matter. So our community is very global and very culturally aware, but there are a lot of specific activities that are happening that just need more information. So we're all about educating and sharing culture, specifically with arts and culture. We do run a few education programs that all around learning about a specific country such as India or China, Mexico, and then doing a hands-on art project like Chinese lanterns or sugar skulls or Rangoli. And so we like to help young learners really get in there and start not only meet someone from that country, but also have that hands-on experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Well, good stuff. I'm excited today because students who are watching, as you'll notice, we have very different organizations representing arts and culture today. And I think that's really cool because there are a lot of different organizations who come at this social cause in different ways. And so to kick us off, I would love to hear from all of you, what is the impact of this type of social cause, both arts and culture and the intersection of that, whether it's international culture or, just building our local culture. What's the impact of that kind of work on people's lives in our community, and why is this kind of work important?
I'd be happy to go first on that. So it's twofold at VNV. The work really impacts the population we're supporting. We talk a lot about identity at the studio. Each of us hold several different identities. I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, and so on. I'm an accountant. And someone living with a disability, they don't have as many opportunities sometimes. And so the work they do at the studio, it really gives them the opportunity to identify as an artist and to be seen as such in the community. So arts and culture really impacts the people that are working from our studio, but we also have an impact on the community. And just in general, more broadly, people, cities that have emphasize art, it attracts innovative thinkers, and it really is an economic driver. It it drives tourism. It's just so many different ways that it can positively impact Cincinnati or any city that is focusing on or values art and culture.
Yeah, I'll step in because I think that my input, feeds directly off of Robyn's about the economic driver. So that is, the main part of the work that we do at Renaissance Covington is having that economic impact for the community. And so in 2020, the city of Covington has announced $66 million of investment and new businesses, even amidst, a national or global pandemic. And a lot of that is because of the work that organizations like Renaissance Covington, Center for Great Neighborhoods have done to really make Covington a place people want to be and businesses want to come in and invest in. And so that for us is really, the impact of our world of arts and culture, which focuses much more on community development and that sense of place.
Yeah, and I'll wrap up with saying a lot of the work that we do is supporting and creating good global citizens. So, anything from working with young kids, developing that empathy and understanding about culture, so that when they do walk into the workforce or even, college classrooms, things like that, they aren't afraid of people who look different than them. They really want to, put out their hand, in the American way and shake each other's hands. So that's really important. And to the economic point, a lot of our work also does help with the local economy, considering we're bringing in so many international guests into town. And the reason they're here is to develop relationships. So strong economic ties for our region here in Cincinnati specifically. And it's really important because they're also talking about ideas and challenges. A lot of the things when they come are similar within fields. If they're here for anti-human trafficking discussions or talking about law or even higher education, there are a lot of similarities, but of course, given each country's laws and policies and, different characteristics, there are quite a few differences. And because of that, it makes for a really interesting conversation. So, yes.
Awesome. Very good. I think all of that's really cool because, I think when you think of arts and culture as a social cause, it can feel a little impersonal if you don't dig into, well, how does that impact people? How do you use arts and culture to impact people's lives? And so I love what you guys were sharing because I feel like you're really demonstrating that it's really all about people and whether you're talking about the economic impact that directly affects people or helping develop people's identities through arts. That's really cool. So thank you guys for sharing that. I would love to hear next of the challenges that you're facing specifically in this work. Like what are difficult aspects of doing this work, whether it's related to arts or culture at this time?
Are you talking specifically, during Corona or, looking broader outside of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think both.
Okay.
Yeah, both, either or.
So I'll start, I think that looking beyond COVID, the biggest challenge for us is all of our work takes place in kind of the public space. So space is really broken down into private and public. Private is your parents own your house. So that is your private space, whereas public space is, sidewalks, roads, sometimes the public realm on the exterior of buildings. But we don't own any property as an organization. So all of our work has to happen outside of our space in that public realm. So it really involves, gathering stakeholders together, most of the time, City of Covington, and really, getting their permission and their acceptance for a lot of the work, which definitely poses a challenge. Looking at, where we are currently as a population, a lot of what we do is, building community, connecting people to people. And that's been our biggest struggle is how do you do that when you can't physically be together? When you cannot hold a special event to rally the community together? What do you do to build that community, to build that, that sense of connectedness and being together?
Yeah, and I'll jump in also, echoing Nick's point. We put on a lot of events that are also community building, and when our visitors come in, they're constantly wanting to meet people and engage in that conversation. And I would say one of the biggest challenges, specifically with COVID, is an obvious one maybe. We can't have visitors coming into town, so we stopped receiving visitors in March. And an optimistic viewpoint of the State Department is that they will come back in January. I'm no predictor of COVID and all of that, but I'm thinking they're not going to be able to come back till June, which is a full year of not being able to engage in in-person activity, which is really important. And I mean, right now we're working on virtual exchanges, which hasn't been a challenge in itself. Especially given time zones and working with interpreters via Zoom. So it's been really interesting to see the dynamic change. And also it's been, kind of uplifting that people are so willing to, I guess, pivot. I think that's a really big word that's thrown around in nonprofits, in any realm. Everyone's been really excited to kind of pivot and accept the challenge, because as nonprofit leaders, I feel like day to days, there's always little challenges, but also to the point of just arts and culture in general for us, outside of COVID, I would say one of the strongest things we get pushback on are that it's soft skills, and it's not developing those hard skills like math and science and things that are traditionally perceived as going to take you a long way in your future. And so for us, it's one of those things where you're not developing yourself as a whole person if you're not also developing those soft skills, and especially at a young age. So I would say for us, that's an overall challenge.
I'll talk a little bit about the challenges prior to living in a pandemic. And, I think nonprofit work is really rewarding. I think everyone I work with wakes up in the morning, and we're fortunate to love what we do for a living. But it does come with a lot of challenges. Funding, I can't not go there. Funding is always a challenge. We receive funding from Medicaid, so there's lots of strings and rules attached to that. But beyond that, we provide a lot of other services that, far exceed the cost of like the little money we get from Medicaid. So, it's just always an uphill battle to make sure that you're meeting your budget and paying salaries and art supplies and everything else that comes with that. So, and I would say, I've been in the nonprofit sector for about 13 years, and marketing is always something that is like a struggle. I feel like maybe more so in, compared to like a corporate setting. So, trying to get your message out there and getting community buy-in, and trying to recognize like who is your audience. And at VNV, we have several different audiences, and, in the art sector, like everyone knows us, but, over, 2 neighborhoods over, no one knows who we are maybe. So I think funding, and for us, I think marketing, like, are the kind of things that pop up. So.
I'm really glad Robyn wasn't afraid to go there. I think, I sometimes shy away from that funding conversation, but I'm glad you brought it up, Robyn. I think that, funding is one of the biggest challenges of any nonprofit that exists. And I think the greater Cincinnati region is so fortunate to have so many wonderful nonprofits that, it becomes really competitive trying to find funding. And funding for specifically arts and cultural organizations is incredibly challenging. Everyone wants to give to the homeless, food insecure, puppies and kittens are the running joke in our office. And not being in that space can be very challenging. So thank you, Robyn.
Yeah, we are fortunate to have Arts Wave in Cincinnati, especially for the city of our size. To have something like that is incredible. So there are cities that are much larger than us that don't have anything in place that, an organization dedicated to raising money to support the arts and culture in Cincinnati. So.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. That's good stuff. I would love to hear from each of you guys. What led you to the nonprofit sector? We just finished talking about there are a lot of challenges in the nonprofit sector. So what drew you to do this work anyway? And what specifically about arts and culture drew you to the work that you're doing now?
Sure, I'll start. So specifically, I studied in school international political economy and French. And I also have my family to thank for this. So my mom's first generation from Austria, and kind of led me down the path from a very, very young age of other cultures and being accepting. And I was fortunate to be able to travel a lot and still have family abroad. And of course, I chose French instead of German, and my whole family speaks German. And so I can understand, but I definitely reply in French, and they're like, "Why are you doing that?" And yeah, family drama a little bit with the language, but it's a lot of fun in that aspect that kind of drew me down this path. And honestly, I kind of fell into this work, I would say, more than chose it. I feel like it kind of chose me a little bit. I actually was an intern when I first started with the World Affairs Council, and I interned for about a month, and then started handling all of the international exchanges that we do for about 2 years. And then from there, jumped into the executive director role. And really haven't looked back. So I've been with the organization about 10 years, and sometimes you just know, I guess.
For me, I studied fine art and psychology, and I intended on going to school for art therapy. And I stumbled across VNV. I had a fellow artist friend that was giving a workshop there, and as soon as I found it, I never left. So, and it kind of met both those things. I definitely saw myself going into some kind of like social service, role, but, aside from art just bringing joy, it's just a wonderful place to call home. So, I think I get to watch people grow and also like grow as a person and as an artist. And it's just a really unique thing to experience. And I'm really lucky.
Much like Michelle and Robyn, I kind of fell into this world. So I come from a public relations marketing background. I was working in the music industry and for country artists in Nashville, and I've been volunteering for a nonprofit very similar to Renaissance for about 4 years, and I just fell in love with the work. And an opportunity came along for me to leave my corporate job and step into the world of nonprofit, and I've never looked back. For me, it's seeing the impact you have on the world and being able to have a firsthand and kind of the change and helping make the world a better place than where we started.
That's awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. I think the last thing that I would like to end on is just hearing from all of you. We're speaking to students. There are students watching. What would you tell those students if they're interested in getting involved in arts and culture and helping people through arts and culture? How can they get involved? What advice do you have for them to kind of jump in on this specific social cause and make a difference?
I would say pre-COVID, volunteering is a great way to get involved. At Visionaries Voices, we have many volunteer opportunities where you can come and work in a studio alongside artists. Sometimes collaborating with a person and just getting to know them it's really just a meaningful way of, instead of just, hey, go sweep the floor over there type thing. We have plenty of that. We have, but yeah, there's lots of different ways you can volunteer within our organization. And I would say that's, a great step into like getting to know a place. And yeah, just kind of exploring to see like what is in your city, what's out there, like what kind of organizations are there. I mentioned ArtsWave earlier. That's always like a really great site to go to that has a lot of information. And
I would echo Robyn. Volunteering is always, the best spot. And not only does it, allow for you to feel like you're giving back, but it also supports the nonprofit that you're volunteering. In my world, we love when people step up and do creative placemaking on their own. It doesn't always have to be, a $1,000 mural on the side of a building or a wonderful 3D sculpture on a sidewalk. It could be as simple as, writing a really nice message on the sidewalk with chalk and impacting someone's day. And in my world, that is creative placemaking. You're helping, make the world a little brighter, beautifying a little section of a piece of concrete. But it could also be as simple as if there's, a yard down the street from you that is not the best looking yard on the block, see if you can plant some flowers and make it just look a little bit more attractive. So there are really, small things that you can do in the world to make it a better place.
And I would echo both Nick and Robyn. Yes, volunteering, and really hope we can get back to in-person volunteering. I know there are some organizations who are doing that in safe ways, but currently we are doing virtual internships. So that's really great too. Outside of volunteering, there might be some opportunities for virtual internships to happen. Right now, of course, we hope to get back in person. And then also for us, we have a great program if you're from a different country, or if you specifically have visited a country and you're really passionate about it. There's an opportunity to share that country's culture. We're doing videos right now about that and creating an online global education portal so that students, teachers, parents can begin to use and understand about culture and art that way. A lot of what we do is focused on just really learning and meeting that person firsthand from a different country. So we really do hope to get back in the classroom and into the businesses in the community, just like I'm sure my colleagues here do as well. And but right now, yeah, I would say that's probably the easiest way to get involved specifically with us right now.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing all of that information. Students who are watching, just know that, you're the future of this kind of work. And I'm encouraged I hope you're encouraged by what you heard here, all the different ways that you can get involved. And there are so many more organizations who are doing work related to arts and culture. This is just a smattering of those people doing that kind of work. So, I encourage you to continue researching and learning about this topic if you're interested in it. And I just want to thank Nick, Robyn, and Michelle so much for joining us today. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for watching. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks, students, for watching.